I am convinced that, well, I guess, 90.999% convinced, right, that this is not just a one off. And what I mean by this? Well, I heard there was some talk online that people think that Zack Snyder's Justice League that's going to come out on HBO Max, that's just going to be a one off. That's Zack is going to make it and it's going to be put on HBO Max. I don't know for how. I don't know. I guess in chapters, but I don't know how many chapters. And that's it. It won't affect anything. It's just going to be its own thing and it's just be in HBO Max and nothing will come out of it. I believed before, right? I forgot which video it was, that HBO or AT&T, the new owners of Warner Brothers, I think that's how it is now, is that they're putting a lot of money into this. People said 30 million, but I heard is actually the reality is maybe between 50 to 60 million. That they're putting, it's a lot of money. They're putting a lot of money into this, and it's just gonna be a one-off. Really? It can't be. Even now, I'm hearing things about the air cut. I don't think it's a one-off thing. I think that AT&T, since they're now in charge of Warner Bros., I think they're gonna use Zack Snyder's Justice League to restart the narrative of the whole DCEU, and that because right now, the way things are right now, Shazam, Aquaman, Birds of Prey, or whatever that film was, it's self-contained, right? There is no overall narrative, like I mentioned before, like in Marvel. In each movie, yes, it's self-contained, but there's like an overall narrative, and that narrative was the Infinity Stones. In DC, the extended universe as we know it, there is none. It's just a self-contained story, and that's it. Which is my pet peeve, because what's the point of having a universe if it's just separate? You know what I mean? So I think what AT&T is doing is they're going back to Zack Snyder's original vision, the Justice League vision, and they're going to pluck out elements from that for their future movies and weave it together in one single narrative. And I think in this case it's going to be the Mother Box and the New Gods and stuff like that. So this is going to be like a restart, not even a restart, more like a resume of the story arc of the DCEU. And honestly, I am absolutely fine with that decision. I am absolutely grateful and amazed about that decision, because honestly, it's because the thing is, right, the Batman versus not Batman versus Superman, sorry, the Justice League sneak peek that came out, I guess, a day or 2 days ago. I can't remember. I kept rewatching that 30-second teaser like 100 times. Is that it gave me a feeling that was missing from the extended universe. Like, when I watched that 30-second teaser, I never felt this way when I saw the Shazam teaser, or the movie, or the Aquaman trailer, or the movie, or anything else. It gave this, especially at the very end, where you see, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Uxis, whoever, Young Darkseid. I'm just gonna call him Young Darkseid until I actually take the time to actually, look up his name and see how people pronounce it. I'm just calling him Young Darkseid. When you actually see Young Darkseid, and then that music, the soundtrack started being off, it gave this gigantic, epic, otherworldly, this grandiose thing. Like, this is an event. This is a universe that's gonna explode. This DC universe is gonna explode. I haven't felt this way from the other movies, especially Birds of Prey. I know I'm bagging on that movie, but what the hell was that? But when you actually see it, when you actually felt, I'm like, holy shit, we're back. This is it. This is DC. It's just to see Wonder Woman Diana looking scared and seeing the Darkseid's picture on the wall. And there's the thing, and this was actually sad. It's actually funny that Darkseid picture. it's It's just weird. It's just funny that how Diana looking at Darkseid's picture has more character than the entire Justice League movie made by Joss Whedon and the old god of Warner Brothers. Like, I felt more watching that scene than I did the entirety of Justice League 2017. It's sad, but yeah. And it's gonna kick off the universe, I'm betting. That's why I think. I could be 100% wrong, but that's what I think, because I'm hearing they're gonna release the haircut, which I think they're gonna do as well. And I think that's the best course of action, because right now it's not lackluster. The movie's not lackluster. Again, there has been hits. Aquaman, Shazam, there have been hits. But narrative-wise, it doesn't get me excited for like the next film. It's like, holy crap, this overall narrative. But if they do Zack Snyder's Justice League, like again, they're gonna introduce Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter. Who knows? The possibility is endless. That's why I'm like in this defensive mode. Not. When I say defensive mode, I don't mean as in, oh, you don't like a movie that I like, then you're bad. I don't mean that. I mean the overall direction, the overall narrative of the DCEU based on Zack Snyder's vision. I'm in defense for, because I'm also seeing like there's this huge thing with for example, I'm seeing people getting pissed about Zack Snyder's decisions, especially with Robin. I'm seeing this lately with Robin, because all this time I thought it was Jason Todd. But Zack Snyder and David Ayer confirmed, like, no, the original idea, it was meant to be Dick Grayson. And a lot of people are getting pissed about that. A lot of people hate that. Because he was like, it's not like the comics, it should be Jason Todd. What the hell? Zack Snyder doesn't know what the F he's doing, all that kind of stuff. And what people need to realize is this, what I realized with the Marvel Universe, Cinematic Universe, that it was not meant to be 100% accurate depiction of the comics. It was never meant to be like that. Because I remember I had to, that was a hard pill to swallow for me. Because I remember when Ultron was meant to be created by Ant-Man, but then they made it and so it was created by Iron Man, and that pissed me off. It's like, what are you doing? But then I just learned to accept it, because that's a different universe. And I think people need to treat the DCEU as a different universe altogether. Like the comics that you read, how many universes are there? So the DCEU has to be treated the same way. It's not meant to be treated as story-wise. It's not meant to be treated as gospel and just take literal elements from the comics and splash it on the big screen. It's not meant to be like that. It's just meant to be its own thing. And in the comic book universe, Dick Grayson's alive, and in this universe, Dick Grayson's dead. And it makes sense why he dies. It makes sense why he dies, because then, in turn, it made the Batman that we see in BVS, or in this DC Extended Universe. Because that was one of the big pet peeves people had with Ben Affleck as Batman, is like, he's too dark, he kills people, he brands people, Batman would never do that, the whole talking point of Batman would never do that is like, well, what Batman are you talking about? There are 100 versions of him. And I bet you the people who said that, they loved Michael Keaton's Batman. How many people did he kill in that movie? I mean, come on, seriously. But for those people who are complaining that Batman was too dark, he kills people, blah, blah, Dick Grayson dying makes sense. I am all for Batman killing, only if it makes sense, and it makes sense to the story. If the story gives me a good reason of why this happened. And Dick Grayson dying is a great reason to push Batman over the edge. Because in the original storyline, Jason Todd dies, right? If my memory serves me right, I don't remember Batman going off the deep end. And one of the reasons Batman didn't go off the deep end, because he has extra support. He had Alfred. He had Dick Grayson. Batman trained Dick Grayson, and he was old enough to fend for himself. So when Jason Todd died, he still has Dick Grayson as support for him, Like, look, you trained me and I'm still okay, I'm doing great, I'm with the Titans, blah, 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 all that stuff. But in this universe, that support, his son, which is his son, not biological son, but you know what I mean. His son, Dick Grayson, is dead. He died. There is no moral support for him. So to experience that, and to be 20 years fighting crime as Batman, and nothing's changed. Even in BVS, he literally said, "What changed? I've been fighting this war for 20 years, and nothing changed. Gotham is still crap. My surrogate son's dead. This alien just came out of the sky, destroyed hundreds of property, and killing thousands of people. What has changed? What has changed?" And it makes sense. And guys, you're dealing with comic book elements. They can literally create a scenario to bring back Dick Grayson. They can literally do that. They have magic. They can introduce magic. They can introduce timelines. They can introduce the Lazarus Pit. There are hundreds of different ways to bring back Dick Grayson. Hell, you can even use the timeline aspect to bring him back as Dick Grayson, not even as Robin, but as Nightwing. There are hundreds of ways that they could write this in. It's comic books. They could literally do what they want. But in this case, Dick Grayson dying makes sense, and it opens up different opportunities for Batman, and he realizes his own mortality, which is great. I think that's an amazing thing. I think people need to treat it as that. Now, having said that, I do understand where people are coming from. I do. Like, for example, the aspect that I hate is I'm trying to think of something on top of my head. Like, for example, race changes. I don't inherently mind about race changes as long as it's for the right reasons. Like, for example, in the comic books, there's a black Superman, but it's not Kal-El. It was a different guy, which is fine. I don't mind race change. Like Jason Momoa, I am fine with him being Aquaman as long as it makes sense. And he fits that, and it's really good. I enjoy seeing Jason Momoa as Aquaman as long as it makes sense. As long as it's not doing it just for the sake of doing it. Let's just take this historically white character and make him to a black character just because it's for diversity's sake. It's just a good thing. Let's just do it. Because we need more representation. It drives me insane, because as a black guy myself, I find that very insulting, because it shows that minority characters can't stand on their own. And second, it's incredibly lazy. Like, there are many other characters out there, minority characters, that you could pluck. Or you could literally create new ones. Like Harley Quinn, if I remember right. She wasn't creating the comic book. She was creating the cartoons. So I don't know why you can't do the same thing with that. It just drives me insane. So I understand some aspects that annoys people. I understand. But in this case, in this story they're trying to tell, Dick Grayson, and it makes sense. And I heard that they're introducing Carrie Kelly. I heard talks about that years ago, and it makes sense because Zack Snyder based his Batman on The Dark Knight Returns. Which is also weird, because people say that's not what Batman do, and yet these same people celebrate The Dark Knight Returns, which is like the darkest Batman I've seen in a while. So, I just can't wait for this DC universe. It's hard to put into words, man. It feels like, yes, the universe is resuming, because now nothing's holding them back, because Marvel's done. Marvel, they done their 10-year thing. Endgame happened. It was a solid end. I know they're continuing it, but for me, it ended good right there, because I don't really give a shit about all these other slates. But yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to see what's in store next. Especially now they're going to introduce Martian Manhunter, New Gods. My mind is just blown.